welcome back to Retail War Games. Today we have an awesome guest, Taz Murray, founder of Tru Fru. Enjoy. Favorite place to hunt and favorite thing to hunt?
Well, my favorite thing to hunt for sure is deer.
Oh, interesting.
I think to me mule deer are the hardest thing to hunt
Because they're so fast, huh?
out there. Well, they're
so aware with their area. With their
mule deer are introverts. They don't like crowds. They like to be.
Oh, yeah.
So like elk are big social animals. They love to be together in big herds.
Oh, yeah.
They make a lot of noise and they're easy to find. I mean, relatively
easier to find. Yeah.
But deer they love to be, especially the big bucks love to isolate themselves. And they're smart. I mean, they survive for a reason. So to this day, I've never killed a huge buck. In Boone and Crockett terms, a 200-point buck is a big buck. And the biggest I've ever killed is a 196. So I've come close.
Yeah, you're close.
And I've hunted all my life. So
wow.
Are you a mounter? You like to mount them and put them up in the garage?
I mount a few.
Cool.
I've got some dead heads, and
Some
my
dead
kids, shake their heads at me.
I love
Favorite place to hunt?
Favorite place to hunt? Utah. I like hunting in Utah. I'm not, I'm not an African, like I'm going to go out to Africa and
Safari
kill
guy.
stuff,
Yeah.
So, but no, I love being outdoors. So I love the outdoor, like
Oh, yeah.
in the fall when the colors start to change. If I don't have a hunt booked where I know I'm going to be in the mountains for a while, I get pretty cranky. So.
Like, honestly, this is one thing in life that I go back and forth all the time because I naturally would want to hunt. I have some guns and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if I'm too weak to actually shoot something. So I'm like, I don't know.
Meaning you wouldn't want to shoot it, or you
There's a
wouldn't want to
moment.
clean it?
I don't know.
There is
I don't
a
know if I
moment.
could
It's
actually pull the trigger. Yeah.
It's even as a hunter, there's the moment before you pull the trigger, like, do you really want to do this? And if you don't want to do it,
Then don't do it.
you will miss.
Wow.
You have to really, in my mind,
You have to try as hard as you can to actually hit it.
in my mind, if you don't really want to say, I'm gonna end this now with one shot,
Wow.
it's a bad outcome.
Oh, that is
I actually have to
interesting.
put grind in and say, all right,
I'm going to do
I
it.
got to get in the zone. I
fascinating.
am going to kill this animal.
Oh, interesting.
That's cool,
One
though.
animal I don't think I would hesitate too much on would be like a cougar, because those things scare the crap out of me.
They're going to be aggressive anyway. They're going to coming at you.
Yeah.
The cougar lovers of the world instantly hate you.
Yeah. No, I'm sure they do. We had
The wolf lovers of the world, same way.
Yeah, we had a cougar go through our backyard last
Scary.
year.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we got 7 kids, and I'm like, that's one animal. I'm like, okay, I could take this out.
You could take
If it was
that one
between
out.
them and my kids, or any threat, I could take that thing out.
I never grew up hunting personally, but I do. My father-in-law, he was the wildlife game officer down in Beaver County for a long time, and he just retired a couple of years ago. But so we've gone hunting a few times, and I don't mind shooting the animal and things. But I think the challenge for me becomes after the fact. It is a lot of work to get everything done.
That's the other part.
It's not enjoyable.
Once you
at that
pull the
point.
trigger, it's like, well, man.
I just gave myself 8 hours of work.
Exactly.
The fun's over. It's all work
And
now.
you gotta
What did I
haul
just
it,
do?
Yeah, right.
And my father-in-law doesn't believe in four-wheelers or razors. He likes to just rough it out and
Oh,
walk
wow.
it. And I'm like,
Hardcore,
no,
I'm gonna
yeah.
haul 500
Yeah, the
pounds.
hardcore hunters are the guys that hunt with bows. I mean, that's you got to be serious
Yeah,
with
that's
them
true.
then.
That's true.
'Cause
I saw somebody out there in Utah Lake yesterday. They had bows and arrows, but it's like a harpoon on the end of it, and they're shooting fish.
Oh yeah,
Have you ever done that?
yeah.
That looked really fun and talented.
You can shoot catfish that way,
cool.
especially in the
Yeah.
sloughs. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that is interesting.
I don't. Is that legal?
I don't know. I have no idea.
Catfish?
Let's say that it is.
Carp.
Pretend like that's
Actually
legal.
not cat-
Otherwise, we're editing this
I'm
part
gonna
out
correct
too.
myself. It's not catfish. It's carp.
Carp. Okay,
Oh,
there you
yeah.
go. Carp.
Is that legal?
Carp
I
is
think
okay.
carp, yeah.
Carp is
No,
good.
there are some protected species. So I did it a long time ago when I was a little kid.
Yeah, there you go.
Do you know what one of my favorite things is?
You're out of the statute of limitations.
That's right. That's right. That expired 20 years ago.
Right, exactly.
So that's crazy. Tell us about the retail. It sounds like how did you first off get into the whole confectionery business?
So yeah, I had 2 careers, right?
Okay.
So I had one with Alpine Confections with a
Okay.
business partner named Dave Tacklett. Great friend to this day, super guy, Notre Dame grad, better Catholic than I am a Mormon. I mean, the guy is just a phenomenal
guy.
honestly.
Good dude.
And he
Honestly,
lives
a
here local?
Good dude. No, Lives now in St. Louis.
St. Louis, okay.
Oh, cool.
But he lived out here for a while when we first started in business together.
Got it.
But I ended up buying a company called Maxfield Candy in Salt Lake.
Okay.
Shortly after that, bought Ken Craft Candy in Alpine.
Oh, wow.
And the old timers will remember the Peppermint Place, which was a candy store attached to the factory. So I couldn't run them both. He came out and ran. So I convinced him. I met him in business school. I convinced him to come out and run that. So we became 50-50 partners. So anyway, that started a candy career that we named Alpine Confections after Alpine Peak.
Oh, yeah.
After Lone Peak, but out of Alpine.
Yeah.
We ended up adding a bunch of companies to that. Dynamic Chocolates out of Vancouver, BC. We added Fannie Mae in Chicago, which is a retail destination store concept that it's kind of like Caesar's out here.
Wow.
But regional. Had about 60 stores.
Oh, yeah.
And then had Harry London out of Ohio. All of these are and Bogdan Candy in Kansas City. So we had regional candy companies that meant something. And our idea was let's expand them just a little bit to make them a little multi-regional, and we can grow them.
Do you ever know a company called DeBrand Chocolate?
DeBrand, no.
DeBrand, out of Indiana.
And I know a lot of them. Out of where?
They're out of Indiana, I think. We used to run the sales for that company. Delicious stuff.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool.
And people are really loyal to a candy brand. It's amazing.
Oh, yeah.
So when you learn about that was an education for me, learning about brands and the importance of a brand.
Yeah.
I used to think, if I make a really good product, people are going to buy it. Well,
Yeah.
Not always.
But that ain't true.
So
I was always curious, Taz, like I know that with candy especially, it's not consumed all the time, right? So how do you up consumption with your loyal followers, right? When, candy's kind of a once in a while kind of thing, right? How do you do that?
It has to be, brands matter, right? I think in that case, brands really matter. So people identify with brands.
yeah.
So with Tru Fru. So, business partners here were Brandon O'Brien and Brian Neville. Mm-hmm. We started this together, and our vision was let's make it a healthy and indulgent product. Let's make it relevant to everybody wants to eat candy, but a lot of people don't because it's not very good for you. And in the candy industry, there's this kind of unwritten rule: don't try to be healthy. We are proud of being indulgent. It's kind of like,
Just make it taste good.
It's like being super overweight and saying, just be proud of being super overweight. Just be there. Just own it. Just own it. Own the fact that you have this, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So, but we didn't really accept that. We kind of said, look, no, we think we can be more than that. So we were healthy. And so that meant something to somebody. So that eating occasion means it's permissible. I can eat something that's indulgent that tastes great, but it's not so bad for me, right? It actually has some good qualities to it.
I like how we've justified that. That's awesome.
That's kind of how you.
Feels
That's kind of how. And
you
in
do.
truth, it's true.
It feels good.
It is true.
It's better than eating a Hershey bar.
That's exactly
So
right.
I'll tell you what. When I first started noticing them in retail, I think we started selling for Tru Fru probably 6 years ago with Brian, and I'll tell you, I went into I don't know if it was like my local Macy's or something like that. And I totally justified, because it was mostly fruit, that this thing was healthy for me. Yeah. So I would eat it by the bag. And I'd be like, honey, it's not that bad. Like the per servings is only X. And she's like, well, it's not, the whole bag isn't the serving size.
Right. The 90 calories per serving is a handful. It's not the whole bag, right?
But it was absolutely amazing.
I thought we had 6 bags. No, I ate one on the way home.
Oh, yeah. This stuff is absolutely delicious.
It's awesome.
My wife, when we first started it, said, okay, here's the design of your bag. Great big starburst on the front that says 90 calories per serving, and a little picture on the side of it's a raspberry coated in chocolate. I mean, in her mind, that's what sells the product.
And to date, you're still doing it. That's great.
Oh, no, yeah. I mean, it didn't take up the whole bag. She wanted the whole bag. 90 calories per serving.
I remember when you guys went through a packaging change probably 5 years ago.
Yeah.
What kind of...
Way against my design. I mean, way against my will. I was so against it.
Oh, interesting.
So against it.
But it's been better because of it, right?
Smarter guys like you and Brian were like, no, you need to upgrade your packaging.
Yeah, well, honestly, I looked at the original one. I was like, that is beautiful packaging. Brian showed me the new ones. I was like, man, who did this design? I loved it.
Yeah.
I thought it was like gorgeous, and obviously, I think it's done pretty well. I don't know.
Yeah, no,
it's done really well.
I think it changed our business. I think it really did improve our business a lot.
Yeah, it was like brighter colors compared to the original ones.
Well, first of all, the brand blocked, right? So we wanted a brand block, so the brand meant something.
Yes.
I mean, we were really we were really trying to create a brand.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
And to create a brand, you needed, the Tru Fru that we had before was in cursive. You couldn't really read it very good.
That's right. It was.
And it was like, okay, but the picture on the bag looked great. And there's a lot of stories out there of people who changed their packaging and completely failed. I mean,
interesting.
Didn't change the product, but changed the packaging.
It's kind of a risk, huh?
It,
yeah.
And it got worse.
Kind of a risk.
Interesting.
I mean, the product tanked.
Big risk.
So there was, and not to mention the fact that we were writing checks at the time, and now we were going to have to eat a bunch of packaging, eat a bunch of product. We're going to have to close out a bunch of stuff. So it's an expensive.
So how do you close that out? Because the product's got a shelf life. You got whole new packaging.
Right.
Do you just tell the retailer you're still going to have to take the old packaging until it's gone?
Yeah.
Or is that kind of the?
That's one way to do it, but
plan?
you still have some of the slower sellers were like, wait a minute, we've had this packaging for a year. We're not going to carry it for another year or whatever. So
some of it you have to just
have to just throw away.
Yeah, because I remember the transition, and you see this with brands quite a bit. When they go through new packaging, you'll look on the shelf, and some of it's the old packaging, and then there'll be a SKU next to it, and it's the new packaging. You're like, oh, there's the change. Here it's coming.
And sometimes it confuses people. Like, well, wait a minute. I mean, is that old product? Is it? I mean,
that's right.
Well, in your mind, you almost think, okay, the new packaging, it's got to taste better, right? So then you go for the new,
that's the
right?
hope, right? Yeah. That's the hope.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah.
So tell us about what it was like. How did you guys first get off the ground with Tru Fru? Was it first a product that you took to traditional grocery, or how did it first start? What was kind of the first game plan on the retail strategy side?
So we had two ideas. One was a freeze-dried product.
Okay.
And the term freeze-dried, by the way, confuses most people. So we changed it to hyper-dried.
Oh, interesting.
Freeze-dried fruit. Brian came from the freeze-dried industry, right?
That's right. Harvest Right is that right?
That's his
brother.
That's his dad's program.
Okay.
He started a company called Wise Foods.
That's right.
So Wise Foods was food storage. So think food storage, right? Freeze-dried food, less than 5% water content.
Comes in a bin.
You rehydrate it you can take lasagna and it becomes like a brick.
Yeah.
But then you rehydrate it
and it comes back down. Yep.
So he came from that industry, and his whole idea was, I'm going to take some freeze-dried fruit and put chocolate on it. So we were introduced through his brother-in-law, a guy named Dan Snow, who was a neighbor of mine.
Okay.
Said, hey, Brian, you want to do this? Taz knows a lot about chocolate. Why don't you talk to him about it? So we met and started talking about it, and my immediate thought was, well, it's okay. It's kind of been done before, but I think I can help you. But I had no really a lot of ton of interest in investing. But anyway, we just so I called a friend of mine, a guy named Ron Sconza in California. He makes that delicious limoncello.
We sold them. They're in Costco, right?
Yeah.
Sconza brands?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Those guys are awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, just a friend from the industry, right? I'd been in the industry for 20 years in the candy industry. So I knew most of the big manufacturers and who would co-pack.
And that's how you knew chocolate really well, right?
That was my original, my original career was in Alpine Confection. So the short story on that is we sold that to 1-800-Flowers, and then I retired and started coaching football and goofing off.
Oh, cool.
And Dave went to work for the guys that bought him 1-800-Flowers. And then we started Tru Fru.
So it sounds like retirement wasn't really going super well for you, because this is where this came from.
I think we could hang out. You got hunting, you got football, and Tru Fru. I think me and you are going to be good friends.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So first you decided, okay, we're not going to do the freeze dried, or
no, we wanted to do it. I mean, Brian really wanted to do it, right? And I thought, well, it's okay. It's a base hit.
Yeah.
It's better than what's out there. I mean, you think about a malted milk ball. I mean, you're basically eating a malted sugar in chocolate. Well, a piece of fruit's better than malted sugar, right?
It's not hard to beat that one. Yeah.
Right. So the hurdle was pretty low, but freeze-dried fruit wasn't. It's becoming more popular, but it was still gaining popularity. It wasn't mainstream.
Yeah.
So I thought, well, it's a nice niche product. It'll be a nice niche product.
Yeah.
It's not going to knock the covers off the ball.
Let's take a break from this episode and talk about our sponsor, Volcanic Retail. If you're a retail buyer and you have been using Pinterest or Instagram to find your brands, you probably know how difficult it is to narrow down your search. Volcanic Retail is the first B2B platform, so you can quickly pop in all the specs you're looking for, whether it's margin or case pack, country of origin, DUNS number, women-owned brands, or whatever you're looking for. You can quickly search through all of them. Get rid of 100 brands that aren't applicable and let it just speak to the 3 or 4 that you really should be honing in on. Now that we've heard from our sponsor, let's get back to the episode.
But as we talked about it, Brian served a mission in Argentina, and he'd had a frozen fruit coated in chocolate, and so we talked about that. And I'd been to Trader Joe's, and they had a frozen banana.
Yeah.
That I talked to the manager about it. So we can't keep it in stock. We keep selling out.
Oh, interesting.
So I'm like, okay, well, maybe the frozen side has some legs. And so we looked around. There was a few concepts out there that they were really poorly executed. Dole had something called Dole Dippers.
Okay.
And
did it make you nervous though? Because frozen is a whole nother operational element, right?
No. I mean, that was actually encouraging because I mean, shelf life, all the issues that you fight are solved with frozen fruit.
So it helps.
It increases shelf life. As long as it stays frozen.
Yeah. I thought it'd been harder.
It preserves flavor. You're harvesting fruit when it's ripe, not before it's ripe, and sending it to market fresh. Right. Mm-hmm. Fresh fruit is all picked a little bit before it's prime.
Yeah, that's right.
So now you're getting more flavor. You're getting more nutrition. You're getting, so our whole thing. We hired a marketing guy. Brian hired a marketing guy named Brady Anderton, and he came in and said, "We're flavored by nature."
Oh,
cool.
Which really struck. I'm like, you know what? We are flavored by nature.
Does it still say that on the packaging?
I don't think it does. I think we use it on a lot of bylines when we're in our sales decks.
That's right.
I don't think we say it, but flavored by nature really does. So like nature's fruit in chocolate. So we.
So it was the first SKU, the strawberry?
That was the first one was raspberry. Raspberry is the hard. So the concept, let me get back to the concepts that were out there, were Dole Dippers, poorly executed, right? So they had a strawberry and a pineapple and something else, all coated with one coating of chocolate, but it wasn't chocolate. It was axle grease. I mean, it tasted so bad.
Pretty nasty stuff.
I like
axle grease.
You guys, how can you have
sleep
this
at night.
Awesome concept and miss it by that much?
Yeah, you almost did it.
You missed it by that. I'm like, it was so obvious.
So it wasn't selling at all. Probably.
We're gonna create a premium product. We're gonna put a premium, and I knew chocolate, so I'm like, I'm gonna find some premium chocolate.
Yep.
We're gonna coat it. We're gonna do double coating. We're gonna do an undercoating of white, overcoating of darker milk. The undercoating of white makes the flavor pop.
Oh, interesting.
And we really wanted to sell fruit. We weren't selling chocolate. We wanted to be fruit salesman with a chocolate chaser.
Oh, interesting.
That's kind of how we.
And that was your strategy from the get-go.
From the very get-go.
Wow, that's cool.
So, and by the way, it tastes a lot better with 2 coatings than 1 because of the white chocolate.
Oh, that's
For whatever
interesting.
reason, dark chocolate has a pretty bitter taste.
Yep, that's right.
It masks the flavor of the fruit a little bit.
Oh, interesting.
But the white chocolate really makes it pop.
Were you a food scientist before all this?
No, but I've been in the chocolate industry, so I knew it tasted good. I mean, I have a pretty good taste profile. I wouldn't say I'm not trained. I'm not.
So with grocery, it's especially frozen. It's such a different ball game than a lot of these other trades of retail that we talk about. I mean, you have like your own difficulties with different categories, right? So like if you're consumer electronics, you have to flip SKUs really quickly depending on like the newest release of the Apple or whatever it is.
Sure.
Or if you're fashion apparel, they basically have seasonalities they have to release.
Very trendy.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Yeah.
With food, you have shelf life issues. I mean, and you have to make sure that you have a fulfillment center or a manufacturing facility that's temperature controlled. You have to work with co-packers. Tell us some of the difficulties that come with working with food.
It's highly regulated, right? So there's a lot of oversight. Okay. You are dealing with something that people consume, so there is you have a responsibility to provide safe food first of all. Yeah. So there's that overlay. There's shelf life issues you got to deal with, which you don't have to deal with in some consumer products.
How are the margins typically? Is there a healthy margin on the manufacturer side before you sell this product to Kroger? I mean, is it pretty thin, relatively speaking, or is it?
Completely depends on the brand.
Okay, very interesting.
So my best example of that is I think that one of the most delicious products out there is the they sell it at Costco, and it's a macadamia caramel cluster.
Oh yes, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
I do, yeah.
We don't keep
They're
them in our
delicious.
because they're always gone. Yeah.
They're delicious, but there's no brand name to it.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, it's a Kirkland brand.
Yeah, it's owned.
And it's almost like, okay, I love that product, but I can't even describe it. I have to describe it as a, macadamia nut caramel cluster.
Yeah,
Where I could say turtle, and you know exactly what I'm talking
that's exactly right.
And so people's expectations for a brand become really important, right? Because if you have McDonald's creates the same hamburger over and over in millions of places, which to me is
incredible. I know.
It tastes the same wherever you go. Almost like, I'm like,
The replication is insane.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's what a brand is. So if you can create this expectation for this flavor profile that people like, and you can replicate it and identify it and replicate it and do it in mass, it's a big deal. I almost forgot, what were we talking about? We're talking about
margins.
Margins. So I guarantee the manufacturer of that macadamia caramel cluster isn't making more than 20%.
Yeah.
They might be making 20 to 25% gross margin. Now, with that, they're not paying any marketing fees.
Yep.
They're not paying, they're not paying to advertise their brand. They're not paying discounts and allowances.
Mm-hmm.
So they're making money, but they're not killing it, right? Where on a branded program, you got to spend money on advertising. You got to spend money promoting the brand. You got to spend sampling. I mean, you got to do a lot of stuff to get that brand out there and aware. So
what percentage?
So margins would be higher expectations. If you're below 40% on a branded product, you're not going to make any money.
So who was the
So
first?
we tried to be way above that.
Interesting.
Who's the first retailer that was pretty notable that took a chance on you?
Well, Costco, pretty notable.
Right out of the gate.
On the frozen side, yeah.
On the frozen side, wow.
On the freeze-dried side, Pace and Markets was, I think, our very first.
Oh, no way.
The very first check I got, I framed it.
Pace and Markets.
It was from Pace and Markets.
No
and it was
way.
a freeze-dried product. I think I delivered it myself.
And that's just that one store, right?
One store.
Yeah,
one store.
Right.
That's cool.
But, at the end of the day, if you want to talk about retail wars, it's all data-driven, right? So
it is.
You need to create data that is replicable to other stores that's meaningful. So I can't go to Harmon's and say, I can outsell any product on your shelf until I actually do outsell somebody's, So, you know about that.
Yeah, that is incredible. So tell me a little bit about what was, for a company like Tru Fru, and you're talking about like making its own brand name, how much should a company or did a company like Tru Fru put on like the marketing side, like co-op marketing with the specific stores, or would have to spend just on internal marketing to build brand awareness? I mean,
I think it's one of the battles you fight with retailers. All retailers have ways for you to spend your marketing money.
Oh yeah. Yep.
They all have like these great, we want you to be on our website. We want you to be on this.
That's
we want you
right.
to be on that. And, we do the social media campaign, and we want you to participate in that. And at the end of the day, we wanted to spend, Brian's idea was let's spend 15% on marketing. We couldn't come close to 15%. Well, I take that back. In the first year, we probably did. Mm-hmm. We did sampling at Costco. We just did in-store sampling.
Yep.
We spent $1 million. I think we did $6 million in sales. So what's the percent on that? Pretty close to a little above 15%.
Yeah, about 15%.
So that was all marketing. In my mind, that was all marketing, sampling, getting people. Because in our minds, if people try our product, they're more than likely than not to buy it.
Did you start off on inline Costco or roadshow? Did you
inline?
Inline, right off the bat.
So we went to a regional cell.
Just right there.
We hired a broker.
Yeah.
That got us in, and both Brian and I had sold Costco before.
Yeah.
So, but like any retailer, Costco is regional. They have regional buys. They have 10 regions.
Yeah.
And they all compete with one another. And in each category, there's usually one buyer that's known as a pretty innovative buyer. Mm-hmm. And the buyer in the Northwest region, Gladly,
they were the ones,
was known as the innovative buyer. They're also known. She used to be on the candy desk.
No
so
way.
I knew her from the
So
candy
you knew her there,
days.
and she was ready to pioneer something.
And so she was, and she was kind of known as. So anyway, the broker introduced us. Brian and I went in and presented.
Yeah.
I was Vanna. I was like showing the product. I was supposed to just like present this really pristine product. I get a knife out and I cut it, and it smashed like a bug.
No way.
And Brian's like, fell. But she tasted it, and in
Still liked it.
18 minutes, we walked out with an order. That had never happened to me in my entire life. In my entire life,
without even being set up as a vendor.
No, we were first time.
Oh
so,
my goodness sakes!
Normally you have to go through this whole process, but she's 18
Costco's
minutes,
hard.
Bam. So that was our first regional sell.
So how many doors did they start with you at the very beginning?
So I think there's, I want to say 65 stores in the Northwest region.
Wow.
65 warehouses. And, their expectations for sales are very high.
Very high. What was their sell-through rate that they were requesting in frozen?
$1,000 per store per week.
Wow.
So in our case, that would have been 100 units per week per store.
And that's
which doesn't sound
per
like
SKU?
a lot.
Like per SKU was 1,000?
Per SKU.
Wow.
Per SKU. And the hard part was we went there with the idea of, hey, look, we're just barely starting to make this. This is the frozen product that I'm talking about. I'm not talking about freeze-dried anymore. The frozen product, we said, look, it'll take us 6 weeks to make your first order. And she said, oh, well, Mother's Day's in 3 weeks. We would love to have it on our shelves in 3 weeks. I'm like, oh, for crying out loud. I mean, what do you do? So we said, look, we're gonna go and we're gonna do our best to make it. I can't promise we'll have it all made by Mother's Day, but we will get some on your shelf. Would you take that? And she said, yeah. It's got to be full truckload at a time, but we will take it.
That is crazy. Like just in like comparison, so like the audience can like do apples to apples. Chapstick, a very well-known national brand, theirs is a quarter to a half sales per unit per store per week. You're asking to be selling $1,000.
So 100 units. 100 units per store per week. Yeah.
Can you? That's exponentially out of this ballpark.
Yeah.
Like,
and that's right off the bat.
That's the category.
Nobody knows the brand. Nobody knows where it is in the store.
But you obviously hit the mark, or you beat the mark.
We did. So in the Northwest, we crushed it.
So did you come back and say, okay, all hands on deck. We got to manufacture everything for the next 2 weeks?
In fact, it was funny. I said, I came back to the office and I said, hold on to your, I didn't say butts, but I said, hold on to your butts.
Something.
It's on now, and we're never going to catch up. And in truth, we never did. I mean, it was just chasing our.
We
would create. We had a line in Heber, and the guys up there were super nice to let us in. Mrs. Calls was the guys that let us in, but then we went from that to we had to figure out how to make it more productive, and so we had custom made machinery. From my industry experience, I had some guys that I knew in the industry that I could ask. I asked them to make custom made equipment because I was up there bent over this equipment for 9 months, 16 hours a day. I mean, I was working.
Holy cow!
But you kind of any educated person can kind of figure out what needs to happen for this to run better.
Yeah. So from a capital perspective, I mean, if you're ramping up that fast, how do you manage? I mean, how do you raise that quickly? How do you? I mean,
we were fortunate. So Brian, Brandon, and I all had successful exits.
Okay, so you could do it yourself.
So we were self-funded. So the problem was we anticipated here's how much money we're willing to put in, right? Well, in every case, in our case,
it increased.
You blow past that. So at what point do you say, look,
I can't do this.
I still believe in it, but I just can't keep doing it.
Yeah.
So we actually had a backup strategy. We said, look, so we were growing, and then we had other regions looked at Costco. So the backstory is other regions looked at the Northwest and said, we want it in our region. And we said, we have this much capacity. We can supply 3 regions.
Wow.
So the first regions that order will supply. So Texas ordered and LA ordered. Those 2 regions ordered. And they flopped. Our product flopped in Texas. It flopped in LA.
Why?
Lots of reasons. One, the buyer actually in Texas said, Texans don't like raspberries that much. I don't know what it is. It's a regional preference. But I like it enough that I'm going to try it.
Oh.
And to her credit, she said, look, I kind of warned you it wouldn't work. We were selling 10 units per store per week instead of 100 units per week. in Texas. And then in LA, we were selling like 30 units per week per store. And in LA, it was different. I thought our product resonated there. But I flew down. I went to LA and wanted to walk the stores to see what's going on, because in Northwest we were
killing it.
we were selling 200 per, 150 per week per store.
No way.
So we were crushing that, so well that they said, we'll put you in every day. I mean, we got to $2,000 per store per week, which was 200, and they said, okay, at that level, we're going to put you in every day. But down there, we couldn't get, we were having, I thought, well, maybe they put it in the wrong, maybe they put it with the frozen vegetables. Maybe it's in the wrong
It's hidden somewhere wrong, or merchandise.
I went, no, it's in the perfect spot. It's right where it was supposed to be. But if you looked at the clientele there, it really is. It's the old Price Club.
Yeah.
And remember, Price Club got started with, I'm a jobber. I have my own convenience store. I'm going to go buy multiples. I want to buy a pack where I can resell 12 items.
Yeah.
You're going to sell it in a pack of 12. I'm going to break that down and sell one item at a time. So I'm going to buy a carton of cigarettes, and I'm going to sell one pack of cigarettes in my store.
Wow.
So as I went through the clientele, that's what the clientele was. They had great big carts stacked with stuff, all multiples. And here we are selling this bag right here.
Yeah.
That's not made for multiples. It's made for consumption.
Exactly.
So I think it just wasn't the best fit.
So jobbers had a bigger hold in Texas than they did up in Washington.
No, in California.
Oh, in California.
Texas was just, I think, a preference.
They just didn't
Texas,
like
they're self-consumption.
They didn't like the raspberry stuff.
Just didn't like raspberries. But in the Northwest, so when that happened, we're like, oh my gosh, maybe we're the only ones who really like it. You start to wonder. You start to question, is
a little bit of doubt there.
Is it really as good as we think it is?
Oh, that is fascinating.
So our backup strategy was, we called it the creamy strategy. You know Creamies?
From Logan.
Those delicious
They're
popsicles,
Utah, huh?
right?
They're Utah. Yeah.
No
Yeah,
way.
a little Utah company.
Yeah.
But the brand only exists in Utah, maybe some parts of Idaho.
Oh, wow.
If you go anywhere outside of this region,
It's unknown almost.
no one's even heard of Creamies.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So we thought, look, I bet Creamies does 8 to 10 million in sales. If all we want to do is 8 to 10 million in sales, we can cut our entire staff. We'll have a CFO or a controller. We'll have a salesperson and an operator, and that's it.
Yeah, very basic.
And we'll just make a couple $1 million a year. We'll split up the money. We'll be a happy little regional company.
Yeah.
Thankfully, Target took us.
No way.
And, we pivoted. We were like, okay, we're stuck at Costco, because now all the other regions have seen one region do well and 2 regions fail.
Yeah.
So the other regions were like, well, we're not so sure we want to buy it now. So we pivoted and went to Target. Target said, yeah, we love the product, same as Costco did.
That's got to be scary, though, because you're not sure if it's going to fill in other regions at the time. Or do you have an idea?
Yeah, it's true. We didn't know, but we wanted to give it a try. We were still believers, so we wanted to try it. So
did they have more SKUs at that point?
Yeah, we did. We started expanding. We started with just cherry and milk and dark raspberry.
Yeah.
Right, and then it was all sweet and sour.
Yeah.
And I think pairing wise, people wanted some sweet on sweet.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny. I was buying a car. And the sales guy said, oh, yeah, I've tried your product. Man, that sour thing really puts me off.
Oh, interesting.
So you don't like sour and sweet stuff? You don't like Sour Patch and stuff like that? He goes, oh, no, I can't stand it.
Just give me all the sweet stuff. Yeah.
And then I talked to a couple of my business partner, Brandon, and he said, yeah, my brother hates sour. Like, well, we need some sweet on sweet.
Way to go for listening to your audience.
So we launched strawberry. And then we launched, and that was sweet on sweet.
Wow.
So anyway, when we went to Target, we had 4 offerings, and they took it, and they said, look, I'll take it. It's January, delivered in July. So we're like, man, what do we do for 6 months?
Yeah.
So anyway, we powered through. We started writing checks.
They tell you like how many doors you're going to be in and shipping day.
Yep.
Did you have an idea of when to expect, like the first reorder, and how does a brand anticipate if they're going to launch in 1,000 doors at Target?
You guess.
You just totally guess.
You guess. Yeah, you guess.
But at least on the initial order, they would tell you how many doors or what SKUs in the count. Yeah. But after that, you're like, okay, I don't know if we're I'm like, because the numbers could vary crazy because of your Costco experience.
Right.
So did you forecast properly?
No, we were terrible. We were the worst forecasters in the world. Honestly, if we did anything wrong, It was forecasting. I mean,
did it always
we
do better?
never hit our forecast.
Was it over or under?
We were always under.
Under. Well, that's a good problem, though. And it feels scarce,
No, it's
right?
a terrible problem.
But it doesn't.
You're going to short
out
a
of stock.
retailer. You're going to like retailers. You work your butt off to get in there, and then all of a sudden you say, "Sorry, I can't deliver."
We're out of stock. Yeah.
I had to call the Sam's Club buyer after we had really worked hard to get a national program with them, and we took, by the way, Retail Wars.
Yeah.
We took something different to Sam's Club than we did at Costco.
Tell us about it.
So this is dark chocolate, 20-ounce bag.
Okay.
Costco's retail requirements, their margins are far different than Sam's Club margins.
Yeah.
So Costco wants to make 13 to 15% on
That's
their
right.
products, right?
Yeah.
So pretty
Across
thin
the board,
margins.
that's everything.
Well, at least in our products.
Yeah, yeah.
What was Sam's at the time?
Sam's wanted 25%,
Oh,
but they
wow.
wanted the same. They wanted the same retail price point. We're like,
How are you going to do that? Yeah.
You can't have the same. I mean, we're not going to discount the product to sell to you.
No, yeah.
They wanted us
So
to.
you need a new SKU.
And so one of the things that happened is oh, by the way, we took a milk chocolate, not dark chocolate.
Oh,
So
interesting.
we wanted, and there was some reasons for that. Number one, we didn't want the same SKU
Yep.
in Costco and Sam's. Number two, the South, where Sam's is stronger, is big milk chocolate lovers. So that's just industry knowledge. And they don't eat much dark chocolate in the South for whatever reason. So we thought, okay, well, let's do a milk chocolate raspberry down there. We'll do a dark chocolate for Costco. Dark chocolate has the health halo. Milk chocolate, not as much.
It's like me and my wife. It's like,
Yeah, right?
You can have your dark chocolate. Give me the South chocolate. You
Right,
know?
right. So, I mean, that's kind of what
I'm
it
the
was.
same.
So
I'm with you, Jeremy.
we,
Give me milk
and by the
chocolate,
way,
don't
we
give me
can't
dark
sell you
chocolate.
20 ounces. We can't sell you 20 ounces. We got to sell a smaller bag.
Yeah.
For if you want to hit these, you can be at the same retail price point.
So reduce the volume.
But we're going to reduce the
Smart.
size, and they said,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
fine.
smart.
Oh, okay. So your whole packaging went down.
But they didn't say,
That's
okay,
how it
fine up front. After we went there, we called on Sam's Club. They
Yeah.
were very excited about the product.
Yep.
And then they went quiet. And a week later, I get a call. I'm up at one of our co-packers. I remember the call. A broker calls me and says, hey, I got this great opportunity for you guys. Would you guys mind co-packing a milk chocolate raspberry in a large bag for a large retailer
Well,
under their name? I'm like, so I immediately knew who he was talking about. I was like, oh, that's interesting, because I was just down in Arkansas.
You gotta
and
be kidding.
I just made a presentation on
oh
milk
my
chocolate covered
goodness
raspberries
sakes.
to the Sam's Club buyer, and he's like, oh, so you already know about it? I'm like,
Oh man.
well, yeah, but we presented our branded product.
No way.
And then he figured out what was going on. So the buyer had gone around our back
Oh my god.
and went out and bid it out, trying to get somebody else to make it for cheaper.
And then it came right back to you.
And it came right because no one else makes the product. I mean, it's like,
Yeah. What are you doing?
It's
This
like, how
isn't.
stu- I'm
This
not
isn't.
like, okay.
Yeah. This isn't socks
Oh,
we're
man.
making.
So
I mean,
we
what are we
call-
talking about?
you know, after I ate my pride a little
Karma.
bit and settled down, I was
That's an
upset.
interesting dialogue right there.
So then it's like, all right, what do you do, right? So cooler heads prevailed. We called the buyer, said, hey, look, just following up on our call, any updates?
Yeah.
And he didn't, he was acting pretty coy.
Playing coy. Didn't want
So
to
he
tell
just
you.
said, hey, look, it's a small industry. Somebody called us. We know you're out trying to get it co-packed.
Yeah.
And he was super embarrassed. Like, he was stealing our innovation.
Yeah.
Basically stealing it.
Yeah.
And he said, oh, look, my boss wanted me to do it. I didn't really want to do it, but I had to please
so
the
he
boss.
knew he was called on the carpet.
Oh, yeah, he knew. So we had him. And so the good news is we just said, look,
Did
let's
he?
make a deal. Let's figure out how to do it between us.
Yeah.
You might be able to find a co-packer down the road, but it's going to take you a long time. We can do it right now. What's your objection?
That's
And
right.
it was all price related. So that's when we started, managing the size. Well, the size bag might be a little bit different.
Wow.
So anyway, we finally got it into a place where he could sell it to his boss. He turned around and sold it to his boss and then bought. So now we've got him convinced. He tries it in, 100 stores. Sells awesome. So he comes back and says, we're going to take it nationwide. We couldn't make it. We couldn't. I mean, with Costco doing as well as they
It's
were.
just too much.
Everybody else. Target was crushing it.
So what did you do? Just
Our
expand
projections were so
operations?
bad that we
Did you-
projected 3 units per store per week at at Target, and we were already up to 7 units per store per week
No
at Target.
way.
I mean, we were just exceeding everything we said. So guess who gets to call the Sam's Club buyer? I called the Sam's Club buyer and said, Jeff, I know that you really want this nationwide.
Can't have it. Yeah.
Here's what we can do. We can't do it. We can continue to supply your region,
Yeah.
We may be able to pivot and provide a different product for you for a while. And I know that's disappointing, but we just can't make it.
At least you set expectations properly.
And he was so mad. I mean, he's like, and I said, and my honest opinion was, I'm doing you a favor. I could have waited until it was time to ship and then told you.
That's right. Yeah, after you cut the PO.
But I'm giving you like 8 weeks notice that we know we can't make it.
Yeah.
It gives you time to find someone else to put in. Just keep us in the 100 stores right now as we build capacity. We've ordered more lines. By the way, it's COVID. You can't get lines very quickly. It takes a year to get a new line in.
That's right.
I mean, they're custom made, right? It's just not off the shelf stuff. So give us some time. We'll get it figured out. But, stick with us. And he did.
No way.
Yeah, he did.
So how big was your manufacturing facility at the time? How many?
So we started with a co-packer that we ran the line, which was really hard work. Then we created a custom line. We went from 6 pallets today to 32 pallets per shift.
Wow.
In one whack. So it was like, oh, thank goodness. Now we're in business, right?
Wow.
So we had one up in Washington, and he was a raspberry supplier.
Huh.
And, raspberry supplier, he had all this equipment that he didn't use all year. He would harvest raspberries, process it, freeze it, done. Then the equipment would sit idle. So, hey, why don't we just put some chocolate equipment on the front of your line?
Keep you busy.
You can run it year round.
That's right.
Would you give
He's
that
like,
advice to other
cool.
entrepreneurs, Taz, in that same boat as, hey, don't try to do it in-house. If you can help it, go out and source it.
Depends on what you want to do. I mean, if you think you've got a really unique manufacturing process that you want to protect and you have the money to do it, do it. In my mind, I wanted to spend the money on the brand. I knew that if we're going to sell this product someday, if we're going to sell a company someday, nobody's going to buy us for our manufacturing capability. They're going to buy us for the brand.
Interesting.
The brand's where the value is. Let's put all the money we make on the brand. Let's put it into the brand. And, that was an easy sell. Brian's a big brand guy. He actually wanted us to build a plant, but I was like, if you want to build a plant, find someone else because I'm not going to do it.
It's pretty pricey.
It's so much money. I mean, you're talking probably $20 million to really build a first-class plant.
So, co-packing is really mostly a grocery term. Tell us what it's like for the audience that's listening in when it's working with co-packers and that whole experience.
So a co-packer is, in my first go around in the candy industry, I was a co-packer. So it's a plant that is manufacturing that has excess capacity.
Yep.
So
to pick up other brands.
I made, for example, are you familiar with Flips?
Yeah, the chocolate
covered pretzel.
Mm-hmm.
So we made Flips.
Oh, no way.
So we had excess capacity in our line in Ohio. We had excess capacity on our enrobing line. That was an everyday line, everyday item. We were more of a seasonal manufacturer, so we had excess capacity most times of the year. So we could make for Flips, and we could build inventory to when we couldn't use our lines to build our product, that they could use that inventory.
Oh, fascinating.
So that's what a co-packer does. A co-packer is usually there to utilize their excess capacity. They'll charge you a little bit less than, all they're doing is making for you. So again, it ought to be a pretty sharp price because they're not spending any money on marketing or advertising, or all they're doing is making a product and adding a markup.
You get the bare minimum price from them.
That's the idea, because it benefits them.
They're staying in business
in ways that, like, you don't have to fire everybody. Now you can keep a whole crew year round. You don't have to retrain them every year.
That's right.
And oh, by the way, you can shut us down when you start harvesting raspberries again. Shut us down. Use your trained employees to go out and make your product. So it was a benefit for both companies.
What are typical terms of the co-packer? I mean, is it you have to pre-purchase, or so?
It's
the
whatever
time,
you want it to be. There's all kinds of models. There's cost plus models where you buy all the materials, send them to them, and then they use your materials to make your product.
And per unit, you just pay for whatever's produced.
Pay for per unit. But the problem with that is, where's their incentive to not throw a bunch of product away? I mean, they might be super inefficient, and they don't care.
Yeah.
Because all they're doing is charging you for the finished goods. You're eating all the raw materials.
Stop what you're doing right now and take a look at your wrist. Is the watch you're wearing a reflection of who you are? Does your smartwatch scream, I'm a badass that works hard and plays even harder? If not, then do yourself a favor and head over to rockwelltime.com. There you can find the watch or sunglasses that lets the world know what you wear on your head or wrist does not define you, but it could. The guys at Rockwell Time are kind enough to offer listeners a discount, so use code WARGAMES30 for 30% off your purchase. RockwellTime.com. Live unrivaled.
So I always wanted our interests to be perfectly aligned, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I wanted my interest to be aligned with their interest. So I was always like, you're buying all the materials. We'll approve any packaging changes or anything. We're going to do quality oversight.
Yep.
And we're going to pay you per finished good. We'll allow so much, here's how much we'll pay you for the finished goods. You figure out, and if you can make it for less, the less you make it for, and hit our quality standards, the more money you make.
That's brilliant. Yeah,
right? So now you have an incentive to do well.
Yeah.
That's right.
If you make 100 units per shift, we're still only paying you X number per bag. If you make 10,000 units per shift, we're still going to pay you the exact same per shift, but just think how much more money you made by making 10,000 instead of 100. So
your interests are mutually aligned.
Yeah, you're aligned, right? And obviously we had expectations on how much they had to make because we had sales to meet. But
so you have an interesting story about, releasing this banana product. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And actually, creating it all. And
so it's technical, but it in all of our products, we were told by the industry we can't do what we're doing. Frozen fruit is 90% water. Chocolate is a high percentage of cocoa butter. So oil and water, as you know, don't mix.
That's right.
So everybody, and by the way, chocolate is tempered. So if it gets untempered, it turns white. You've seen chocolate that goes white on the surface?
Oh, yeah.
That's untempered chocolate. Doesn't mean it's bad. It just means it heated and then recooled, and then the oil migrated out of it onto the surface.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And it doesn't look attractive. You don't want to eat it. It looks like it's old.
Yeah.
So everybody told us that when we did what we're trying to do, you're trying to put water and oil together, you're going to have huge problems on the line. Because if you put water in chocolate, if you ever want to do this at home for a fudge experiment, it turns to fudge.
Oh, wow.
It's just like solid. It won't move. You can't pump it. You can't flow it.
Yeah.
So we were told, by all the industry veterans, you can't do what you're trying to do. And, by the way, the banana was a similar thing where you're going to try to put peanut butter, which is a nut oil, with cocoa butter, which they don't play well together.
Oh, interesting. So
anyway, we had to do some modifications to the peanut butter. Our peanut butter is pure peanuts and 0.5% salt.
Oh, wow.
Very, very simple. The most simple peanut butter known to man, right? Very simple. A little bit of salt, peanuts.
And no one knows because it's just such a small amount, right?
Right. And so, but it's no artificial flavors. But oil sticks to the belt. Peanut oil sticks to the belt when it's cold.
Oh, interesting.
So we had to use an existing ingredient in the bag to help stabilize peanut butter so it would release from the belt. So that's what we did. And if you eat our peanut butter, it's phenomenal. We should sell that as peanut butter.
Wow.
It's really good peanut butter. Seriously, it's good peanut butter.
So tell us, you like now you go into convenience stores and they're selling Tru Fru. Like originally I was thinking there's no way. Obviously it's a frozen product, right? Yeah. But now you have other SKUs. How did you venture into that?
Well, C-stores were kind of our last hurrah.
Yeah.
They, if you look at the industry as a whole, you have the mass sells a lot. So their expectations for sales per store are all different, right?
Yeah.
So we talked about Costco at 100 units per store, Sam's Club 30 units per store per week.
Yeah.
So still high. Target 4 to 5 units per store per week.
Wow.
Right?
They were really low.
Everybody's expectations are very different. C-stores, 1 unit per store, sometimes a half a unit per store per week.
Wow.
That's their expectation to have a good product in there. So if you do the math, they all want to charge you. If you want to, you're fighting the battle of, you got to pay a slotting fee. You got to help them with product off the shelf. You got to spend money on marketing. When you do the math, C-stores come out on the bottom.
Yeah.
They just do. Now we did sell Maverick early on because
Utah Connection,
Chuck and Crystal Magla, pretty good friends of mine. They didn't buy it because they were friends. I think they bought it because it was doing
good
well.
product, yeah.
But we didn't really show it to any other C-stores.
Yeah.
Anyway, bottom line is we chose C-stores last because they don't sell as much product. They have a lot more stores.
Yeah.
I mean, 7-Eleven has, I don't know how many stores worldwide, probably
11,000, yes, 20,000, I think, right?
I don't know, it's 20,000 stores.
Something,
I mean,
yeah.
some outrageous number of
Ridiculous.
stores,
They have
right?
5 times as much as Walmart.
So only 1 unit per store is still a lot per week, but you got to distribute it worldwide.
Yeah.
So, or you can sell Costco a whole truckload for one region. They distribute it themselves through their own distribution channel. You sell 7-Eleven or Walgreens, for example. They want you to deliver each store 2 units per store. It's like, wait a minute, how am I going to do that?
Yeah, that's right.
That's hard.
You got to be kidding.
Yeah.
That's hard.
So it's just a different model.
Did you ever end up selling to Walgreens and their whole pay on
Yeah,
scan?
we did.
Did they do pay on scan
took
with
them
you?
on, and they tried. Actually,
Pay on what?
let me think
What
about
is that?
that.
So
I don't.
pay on scan is a little bit. It's obviously different than net terms, and it's different than consignment. They actually don't pay your. They don't
Bill,
pay your
yeah.
first PO until the
Right.
very end. So you might not get paid on the PO until you actually exit from that that partnership.
Yeah.
So you're always paying for an additional purchase order all the way down.
And so I think we actually did, but I think one of the things that the retailers will always ask you to do is give me a sell-through guarantee. And I'm going to tell everybody that's listening, that's death.
Yeah.
If you accept that, you've just shot yourself in the head.
That's right.
Because now the retailer has no incentive to display you well,
That's right.
because they have a sell-through guarantee. If it doesn't sell, they don't care. They'll
Yeah,
charge you
make
back.
the same amount. Yeah.
They need to have some response. They need to have some skin in the game.
Did you find successes running things like? I don't imagine you'd have to do a BOGO for this, did you?
Oh, we did everything. I mean,
You
we
did it all.
Well, if you want to sell Publix, for example,
Yeah.
Publix won't buy you unless you'll do a BOGO.
No way.
Oh yeah, and Publix is a phenomenal grocery store.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they sell a
High
lot of
end.
products,
And large.
but you have to commit to 4 BOGOs, 1 per quarter up front.
No
and it
way.
costs you a lot of money. So to me, that's marketing money, because all you're doing is getting people to buy in multiples, and sample it and share it, and come back and buy more. So to me, and to all of us,
Yeah.
it was worth it.
So after a while, after you became pretty notable of a brand, did you have the negotiating power to get rid of all the slotting fees and?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, Brian will tell you a really funny story. There's a grocery chain up in the Northeast called Stop and Shop.
Oh yeah, is it owned by Wakefern? Are they?
Yeah, it's a larger retailer.
Yeah.
Same company that owns Food Lion and a few others.
Oh yeah, Del Hayes.
Yeah, I think it's Del Hayes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had worked out deals with all the other companies in their chain. I mean,
Yeah.
but Stop and Shop had this really high expectation of slotting fees.
Oh yeah.
So Brian walks in, and for 2 years in a row, he fights her on slot. And Brandon's our finance guy. He brings it back, and Brandon looks at it and says, "Look, if we pay that slotting fee, we won't make money."
Wow.
It's like, well, why would we do that? I mean, we got more demand than we can supply. Why
Why are
would
we
we not
going to
make
that
money?
retailer? Yeah.
So no, the answer is no. So we go back to Stop and Shop every year, and our sales person that was in charge of that region was always so disappointed. Like, they're getting paid a commission for.
Yeah.
They're like, why can't we sell? I was like, we're not making money.
Yeah.
Get rid of the slotting fee. So bottom line is, on the third go around, Brian walks in and says, before we start, just want to make sure, are we negotiating slotting fees today or not? And she said, well, actually, the slotting fees have gone up.
No way.
So he said, well, we got nothing to talk about. He closed his book and started walking out.
Wow.
She said, well, wait, aren't you going to show me all your new products?
Why?
And he said, what's the use?
Yeah.
Why would I waste my time? And she shook her head, and I thought, we will never sell Stop and Shop ever.
Yeah.
The next year, they negotiated
down.
the
That's
price.
What
Awesome.
were they originally?
So I think there was 70,000 per unit per score.
No.
Per 70,000 per SKU
No way.
for the chain, and then it went up to like 80.
No
And
way.
he
That's
said no.
unheard of.
So, but no, it's not unheard of. I mean, everybody's asking for it.
That's crazy. Though.
So, but it is. I mean, it is negotiable. I don't think you can ever negotiate it away. But the dirty secret in the industry is you can negotiate it.
Oh, big time.
Isn't
And,
that just kind of like
And Brian of all the things he's a great sales guy.
Yeah.
So he would go in and say, look, we're a small company.
Yep.
We can't afford to pay that much. We're doing great. We're going to outsell all the products in this category. We're going to outsell every product you got. You're going to make way more money on our product than what you're selling.
Yep.
We'll pay a reasonable slotting fee, but we can't pay that much.
So it's just the frosting
Whatever
on top,
it was,
really.
we can't pay that much.
Interesting.
So how does this sell through, like going back to the convenience store, I mean, you're selling Costco for 13% margins and Sam's wants 25% markup on their side. And so for C-stores, are they at 75% or what? You know where they were landing?
Yeah, no, they're a little higher, right?
Yeah.
So grocery stores, 35 to 40, and they're always trying to push that up, right?
Yep.
And in the frozen department, sometimes a little higher.
Yep.
But, mass merchandisers, 35 to 40. Grocery, same area.
Range, yeah.
Obviously, club stores, much less.
Oh, yeah.
And then C stores, 50 to 60.
Wow.
They want to hire. I mean, they're not selling as many units. They got to make more money.
Yeah, they have to pay for the space.
So then Taz, to switch gears a little bit, then Mars comes along. How did you make that happen? The exit with Mars.
No, Mars didn't just come along.
I'm going to frame it like that, but I want to
You
hear
hunt
the
him
story.
down?
I wish they would have just come and knocked on our door, but it's not how it happened. I mean,
How did that work?
we got to the point where we were probably exceeding our capabilities.
Wow.
As a management team, we were growing when you grow from 30 million to 110 million and your forecast is to do over 200 the next year.
Wow.
Our capabilities just weren't big enough.
Yeah.
We wanted to sell Europe in the worst way. We had a co-packer in Poland we're still using to this day that we set up so we could sell Europe. But if you think it's hard to sell through the FDA or even into
good
Canada,
luck over there.
Good luck in the
Europe,
UK.
yep.
Oh my gosh. So it's like you got to relearn the encyclopedia. Mars knows the encyclopedia. I mean, they're a company that knew how to do all that. So we were looking we needed an exit. We just needed an exit. Somebody that could move quickly. People were starting to knock us off in Europe. We wanted to be in Europe.
Yeah.
So we said, look, it's just time. This is a good time for us to sell. And I would argue we probably sold too soon, but I mean, you can't lose when you win.
That's right.
So we said, look, we're on a rampage. This is a good time to sell. There's a lot of sexiness to our brand. So we interviewed 5 bankers, and we narrowed it down to 2. And it came down to these 2. One was like a fat cat smoking a cigar. You could see him making a deal in the back room.
Yeah.
The other one was this really young, aggressive, exciting team. So we asked, we were debating back and forth which one to go with. Yeah. We finally said, let's have one more interview with them. And I just asked him the question, how much do you think we can sell for? And one guy said, you'll never get above this. The young, aggressive team said, man, if you got this, you'd be doing great. You'll probably never see more than that. The fat cat said, we're going to get as much as we can. There is no limit to how much you can get. We're going to pay what the market bears.
No way.
So who would you go with?
The fat cat.
The fat cat.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, oh my gosh. We want to do the best we can. And oh, by the way, when we sold for more than the guy said, you'll never get above this.
No
number.
way. When selling for food, is it like 3x multiple that you're looking for? What are you looking for? Like as an industry average, you don't have to tell us what you sold for.
Well, it's a multiple of. It used to be a multiple of sales back in the day.
Yeah.
When we first started, there was companies selling for multiples of sales.
Yeah.
Didn't care if they were making money or not. By the time we rolled around to the sales table, it was all, if you weren't making money, you're not going to sell.
Oh, wow.
And there's companies here locally that tried to sell and failed because they weren't making money.
Yeah.
But we were making good money. So
it was off profit.
And they saw our growth trajectory.
Your J curve, yeah.
On a combined basis, we have a hot brand.
Yep.
We mean something. We're healthy, indulgent. That's rare air in the food industry. We're making great money, so that drove all those things. And our projection is really high. And by the way, we're going to make that number even if we don't try, we're going to make that number.
Yeah.
We've already got all these commitments. We're launching a few new products. We're going to make that number. So, we were selling a little bit on past, a little bit on future. And that drove the price. That drove the price up ultimately. But to answer your question, Mars didn't come knocking on our door. That fat cat banker went out and dragged them into
wow.
I never thought in my industry experience, Mars is they're like God.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
they're one of the largest, right?
They're big, they're smart, they make great products. I mean, you think of all the brands they have. They're great brand managers. They've never really bought very many chocolate. I mean, they rarely buy a chocolate company.
Oh wow.
They'll buy non-chocolate companies, but they don't buy. I mean, they're chocolate guys.
They do
right?
chocolate.
Oh yeah.
At
That's
their
their
core.
wheelhouse.
So I would have never guessed they would ever be interested. I thought ConAgra, I thought Lindt, I thought some of the ice cream brands, and Blue Bell, Blue Bunny. I thought those guys might be interested. So I never thought Mars would be, but that's the job of a good banker. They'll create demand, and they'll get the attention of the right company.
So you went the right one.
So yeah, I mean, when Mars showed up, I'm like, I could only pray that they would.
And he was probably the one that had that connection, not the younger one, right?
Yeah, no, the fat cat had. I mean, the younger one might have, but
yeah.
So it's a multiple on profits.
Multiple on EBITDA. Yeah.
EBITDA.
EBITDA, yeah.
Oh, that is so fascinating. Last question. Europe, how did it turn out?
Well, we just launched in Tesco 2 months ago.
No way.
So that was, I mean, it was interesting. Mars has a very practiced approach, right? They don't just go out and do stuff. They have to have all the science behind it. So they hired a great big PR company in the UK to do a taste test.
Yeah.
So they did like 1,000-person taste test, a really big taste test. And the PR company called them when they first got the results and said, "You're not going to believe this. We have never had a product taste better in any taste test we've ever done than this product. You need to launch now."
No
so that
way.
And we'd been over there. We told them all. I mean, we
awesome.
had a big meeting with the UK team and said, "Here's how you do it. There's a big demand for it." And they all, But when they heard that from the PR company, it was game on. They went and sold to Tesco first. In fact, they only sold Tesco because they didn't want to create more demand than they could supply.
Yeah, wow.
So it's going good.
Unbelievable.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Taz, this has been fun.
Unbelievable.
Right, Jeremy?
Honestly, I could chat with you for 6 hours about this. This is unbelievably fascinating. Congratulations. Holy cow.
Now what are you doing? Now that you're exited and you're done? Now
Retired. I grew the retirement beard.
You're enjoying life now. Hunting all the time.
I can retire. I can hunt a little bit more.
That's great.
Well, thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Nice to meet you, Taz.
Congratulations.
Appreciate it. Yep.
See ya.
Thank you.